Hey guys, real quick, this episode's dedicated to Fast Eddie, my friend at the Comedy Store. He was the greatest, worst Coke dealer of all time, and he's no longer with us. Just 2 weeks ago, he said, we got to go to Thailand. I go, for lady boys? He goes, okay. So enjoy the lady boys in heaven. Fast Eddie, you were a great guy with horrible Coke, and we're going to miss you, and you were a big part of the Comedy Store, and I'm sad to see you pass. I love you, brother. Take care. Enjoy the show.
Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the f*** is he even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
All right, welcome to Tinfoil Hat live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios. Just go to samtripoli.gold, use the promo code TINFOIL, and you too can get in on the Precious Metals game for as little as $50 a month. It's that simple. Precious Metals sent right to your house. It's easy peasy, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. We're very excited to have this next guest on. We appreciate him. As you can tell, we're in the it's the BS studio now. It was the old Tinfoil Hat studio, and we had a power outage, so we had to rush over here, and our guest was kind enough to work with us, so we appreciate that. He is a civil rights lawyer. He's got a wonderful YouTube channel. Everybody on the channel loves it, on the show loves it, and we're very excited to have him. Please welcome John Bryan. How are you, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
John, we really do appreciate you. For those who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, my name's John Bryan. I am a lawyer practicing out of West Virginia. I've been practicing here in West Virginia for almost 20 years now. I'm originally from Florida, but I really just wanted to live in the mountains of West Virginia, so I've been here ever since then. I've done a lot of criminal defense work, and then I've done a lot of civil rights work, specifically suing the government over police encounters of various and many different kinds over the years. And I've done that the entire almost 20 years that I've practiced. So that just was sort of a natural segue into being the civil rights lawyer on YouTube, because it was all of the cases and videos and experiences that I had doing that sort of work that naturally landed me on YouTube.
That's I love that. I've been pulled over a lot. Unfortunately, I've gotten out. I'm like 17-3 in traffic court. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Good job.
I just went to traffic court myself in Virginia.
Oh, really? You got pulled over?
I did.
When you rolled down your window, were they like, "Oh no"?
Yeah, did they know you? I imagine they must, right?
You know, I didn't know at the time. That's always something. Like I suspect there was no way that I know of knowing ahead of time that I would be driving through there. It's theoretically possible. I think it was just, you're driving through Virginia, you already expect to get pulled over anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm generally very good about not speeding through Virginia. I do like to speed, but in Virginia, like I will not go. If I'm thinking, as long as I'm thinking about it, like I won't go over 5 above, and generally you're pretty safe at 5 above, because people are flying. Like you look at I-81 through Virginia, I mean people fly, and so generally you're pretty safe. But this was on I-64, which is, I don't know why they even built an interstate there, because it's like empty, except for all the cops.
Yeah.
These Virginia state troopers are just everywhere on I-64, and this one was waiting at the bottom of this big ass mountain. So I didn't have cruise control on, and it was a 70 mile per hour zone, and as I'm coming around this curve at the bottom of a hill, I realize I'm going probably too fast. And at the same exact time, I see this cop car sitting there. I look at my speedometer. I had sped up to like 77 miles an hour.
Oh no.
Oh,
And
come
still, I
on.
figure, like,
Yeah.
all right, 7 over.
It's fine.
You know, I still should be good. But here come the lights, and he pulls me over. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal. The guy wasn't super nice. Like the time I had gotten pulled over in West Virginia before that, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, the guy was actually super nice. It was a West Virginia state trooper, and he caused me no problems. Didn't even give me a ticket. Like he was like way too nice. He was very smiley, and he sent me on my way. And I had been speeding like 12 over or something like that. And so that was a great experience. But this, this is Virginia, and this guy wasn't friendly at all. I rolled down my window, kept my hands on the steering wheel. I was polite to him. I had my stuff ready because I always make sure that I'm not digging around for my stuff. Like I don't want him to see anything that's in my glove box or in my center console. Like I already have that stuff ready so that there's no issues, which I would highly recommend other people do. And he just wasn't very nice at all. And in fact, he asked me, why were you speeding? And I just said basically, well, I didn't even realize I was. And that was about it. He came back and he wrote me a ticket, and I look at the ticket and it's for 80, going 80 in a 70. So that was a lie. I know for a fact that the fastest I was going was 77. And so, all right, so when I see he's lying, either he's just doing this with everybody and he's trying to get them at 10 over instead of their real speed, or he recognizes me and he's just going to, make it a little bit worse. I'm not sure which it was, but he lied and said I went 80. So generally I had been a traffic prosecutor earlier on in my career in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I had done prosecuted hundreds of speeding cases. And I don't think there was a single person who did not get a reduction in their speed at the very least if they just came to court and asked for it. So you never just generally want to pay a speeding ticket. So I showed up in court, and then I get to court. This is like 2 weeks ago, and I show up, and there's a ton of people there. It's a pretty small county in Virginia. Everybody's there on the same court date, and so I sit in the back of the courtroom when it's like my group going in, and the judge is running the courtroom as if she was a prosecutor, which is bizarre. But that's how it was. And then she was super nice to everybody. Like there was like teenage girls, like they come up and she's like, have you had any, other tickets in the past 3 years? No? Okay. Here you go. I'm going to dismiss it for you. Or here's this like online class you can take. It's really interesting. And then you'll get it dismissed. No big deal. So everybody's being treated with kid gloves.
Oh no.
Super nice to everybody. Then it was my turn.
Oh no.
And that was when I realized that they knew who I was.
Oh boy.
And they really tried to screw me. And they wanted me at 80 miles per hour because, at least if I recall correctly from when I was a prosecutor, if you're going over 9 above the speed limit, generally your insurance company will raise your rates.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had a ticket in the past, this is how it used to be anyways. If you hadn't had a ticket in the past 3 years, as long as you were less than 9 over, then you wouldn't get your insurance rates raised. And so it's just like they wanted, they thought that and maybe they get more, maybe they have some other incentives in the state of Virginia that I don't know about. If they get an 80 and a 70, maybe it's some sort of quota. Maybe there's some larger penalty somewhere. But that's what they were going for. And so I said, Your Honor, I admit that I was speeding. I mean, I was speeding. But I did not go any faster than 77. In fact, I can prove it. And so what I had was my daughter was in the truck with me, and we have this, Life 360 app for my kids. Now, my son is in his first year of college, and he has turned that thing off. But my daughter still has it on. She's still in high school. And so I look back at the app after he writes me for going 80, and you can watch on Life 360 your exact route, like down the road.
Oh, wow.
And watch your exact like GPS speed everywhere you go. So I looked back, and it confirmed that at no point did I exceed 77 miles an hour. And in fact, I was only going 76 at the point that he spotted me. And so I had brought that with me to court, and I let this state trooper lie first under oath. He was put under oath, and he said,
Yep.
This is when I realized they knew who I was, because instead of treating everyone with treating me with the same sort of kid gloves everyone got, which is just like we're celebrating, teaching people about the dangers of speeding and promoting this class, and everybody's getting their ticket dismissed if they'll take the class. And I would have taken that option, and I hadn't had a speeding ticket in a long time. But when it was my turn, he starts to lie and say that he's just sitting there, minding his own business in his little speed trap, when all of a sudden, and he brings up what I'm driving, and he's like, and here comes Mr. Bryan in a Raptor. I mean, he brings up like what I was driving, as if like it was a Lamborghini or something.
Yeah.
And so I'm the only one that got mentioned what I was driving, as if it like sounded fast to the judge. And she looked like she already knew these facts. And then he made it sound like I was going so fast that he thought it was a public safety emergency, and he had to catch up with me. And I was going so fast, he didn't even know how fast I was going, and so he just reduced it to an 80. I mean, that's basically what he went on and said, just lying.
Oh my God.
And here I think like it's not going to be a big deal. Like I'm just going to ask for a reduction and get a reduction. I realize like they're trying to screw me. And so that's when I said, well, Your Honor, I can prove that I was not going 80. And I explained the Life 360 thing and threatened to bring it out. And that's when they backed off, and the judge said, all right, I'll write you up 77, like get out of here. And that was it. So
it's crazy to me because, like, if you're not an established attorney like yourself, you might not know any of this. And I too, even though I'm not an attorney, have cross-examined cops and had them lie right on the stand. And I actually caught one, and it pissed the judge off so bad. I was on the street in Los Angeles. I talked about this on Broken Sim a long time ago. Yeah. But I went to go make a turn left, and there was no signage that said they had shut down the street. But when I went to turn, the street was closed down and traffic was coming at me. So I had to swerve back in, but there was so much traffic coming down my way on the street that the only spot that was open was the opposite end's turning left lane. So I went in there, and then I'm trying to get in because I live in LA. No one will let me in. And then I see a cop there, and I start freaking out. So I just try to find something. Nobody will let me in. So I went down a little ways, and this is what the beautiful Pollyanna was in the car. I see him, and this is how bad traffic was. He had to do like literally a 16-point turn. There was so much traffic. He had to go, and I'm like, I'm in trouble. So I pull into the post office. And, I go, can I get out of the car? Because my dog is barking. She's lovable, but she likes to act tough. He goes, no. I go, okay. And he hands me the ticket. So I run down. Dana was right there because she was at the post office too in her car. We took pictures of everything, and I got him to admit it. I go, hey, explain to the court the traffic. Was it flowing up and down and across? He goes, yes, it was flowing like east to west, whatever it was, or west to east. Yeah. And I go, that's impossible. And I showed, and dude, that judge got so pissed at me. She made me go to the back of the courtroom.
At you?
Yeah. She got mad at me, made me sit at the back of the courtroom till the end of all the cases. She went through all the cases.
And hope that you'll leave, you think?
No, and reprimanded me for my attitude.
Okay. That's so funny.
And here's the craziest part. Here's the craziest part. The cop sat there the whole day waiting for my trial to come up.
That's so funny.
And he just stared at me with death signals bang. And I was like, okay, man. She goes, she dismissed it, but I really couldn't believe it. And let me ask you something. Do you believe, because, we'll have times in LA where it just seems like people are getting traffic tickets left and right. And I always go, that's somewhat of a backdoor tax. They're trying to backdoor tax you. Do you feel that could be an alternative motive?
I think they need to justify their own existence for sure.
Yes.
Like there are generally West Virginia. One of the things I like about it is there's less government here. There's generally less cops. I grew up in Florida where it is the exact opposite. And there is a lot of revenue generation going on in the county that I grew up in, Brevard County. It's not, it's a pretty wealthy place in general, and a lot of elderly people who want to feel safe. So there's just so many cops. Like there's so many cops that they have to come up with stuff to do. They go and hide behind guardrails, set up these speed traps. They get up in airplanes. I actually got a ticket from a damn airplane once.
What? That's crazy.
That's what I want to get into too.
That's crazy.
So and that one has followed me around because it was over $250. So I had to report it to the bar and all this stuff, and only realized later that I should have fought it because it would have been much less likely that they had both like the airplane cop and the one that was on the ground that actually physically got me in court at the same time because they're the government. It was extremely likely that they would have not coordinated that properly. But Florida, there's so many cops that they have to justify their own existence and they have to come up with stuff to do. They get boats and they'll buy a $500,000 boat and because they have to do all these law enforcement related things with this $500,000 boat. But in reality, they're just like sitting at the boat ramp. And they could have done that with a 16-foot John boat. And so in West Virginia, where you see that is when you have these little towns. There's like a little town somewhere that does not need a police department because they have a sheriff's department that covers the whole county, and they have a state police detachment that also provides overlap coverage in that same town. But they want to have their own police department for some reason. And so they have to financially justify that. And there was this little town called Mount Hope, still is in West Virginia, a notorious speed trap.
Oh, man.
It was just a tiny town, but they expanded they gerrymandered their jurisdictional boundary to just include a tiny section of the 4-lane, US 19. And so where they have like 2 or 3 cops, and where are those cops like all day, every day? Are they in the town patrolling and just making sure the streets are safe? Are they picking up litter or something like that? No, they're sitting on that 4-lane trying to give tickets to like Canadians, and harassing people because, so they are using it to generate money because their little police department is 50% or more of their like entire towns, the entire cost of running their town. So that it just exists to pay themselves, to pay their own health insurance and all that. So I do think there's a lot of that goes on probably around the country.
Yeah, it's funny. We had one of those in South Carolina. I'm from North Carolina, but in Society Hill, South Carolina, famously, just they sit at the bottom of this hill, and everybody knows it, and they catch out-of-towners all the time. My dad got like
that is a big thing.
3 tickets here.
The rules of each state is different.
Yeah.
And especially if you're from California, because let's face it, like a lot of times on the highways, they just let you go. They're very lax on the highway.
Yeah, especially if everybody's going fast. Ooh. Yeah.
Well, they do that one thing where a cop will just get really fast in front of you, and then he'll just start swirling in between lanes, and that's like to slow the traffic down because he's not pulling out.
Is that a thing that happens?
No, you've never seen
that?
No,
I've never seen
where
that.
They just, let's say on the 405 where it's a 4-lane highway, they'll just go back and forth.
Really?
To slow everybody down. You're like, what are you doing?
What is this, like a NASCAR race? Warming up your tires?
Weird,
that's so
dude.
strange.
It's very weird, but it is like when you go state to state, you gotta figure it out. And there's something also weird. I was in Indiana and like everyone's just flying by me. I'm like, okay, I guess we can go.
Yeah.
And then boom, I just get pulled over. I go, why you pull me over? I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to keep pace so I don't get.
Yeah. It's on that road to Chicago. Is that what you're talking
The
about?
only thing cool about Indiana is if you're out of the state, if you go 1 year without another traffic ticket, they won't tell your insurance.
Well, that's kind of it.
That is kind because it doesn't. So you do a lot of your content is about people being pulled over in traffic tickets. Like, what do you think is the biggest mistake a lot of people make when dealing with this stuff?
I mean, there are a lot of common mistakes that people make, and there are also a lot of common mistakes that I see cops make. So part of kind of what I try to do is, analyze things from both angles. What should people be doing, or what do they need to know? What can they do differently? But also, I try to challenge police officers as well, because I know a lot of them watch. If you're demanding somebody's ID, is it really necessary? Why are you doing that? Because so many of the videos I do and the other viral videos that you'll see of police encounters, a large number of them were entirely unnecessary incidents. We're not talking about like shooting cases or responding to some violent situation or some big emergency. A lot of these scenarios are things that just didn't need to happen at all. It was just some dumb Karen call. No crime had been committed, or it was just some police officer who was bored and trying to be proactive and it creates a problem where there wasn't one. So there's a lot of that happens. I think, I don't know, maybe I would say maybe 80% of these viral police videos didn't need to happen at all, excluding the shooting videos. Sorry, I forgot what your original question was.
No, there's this video that I watched before I came here. There's this guy that gets out of work 10 minutes right after, I think it's a Walmart or CVS. He sits down, he puts his hoodie on.
Dude, this
it's
is
so
bad.
bad. And you're just, the cop's just like, you're hiding. He was between a pillar sitting down, and you just see this whole.
It was nighttime. He's getting off work at a CVS, right? And he a young kid, and he's just waiting for like an Uber or something in front of CVS. And oh, dude, he has a drag out with. This cop is just so belligerent to this. Just a kid off work. Unemployed. Most kids are out in the streets smashing windows, and he's like just getting off work, trying to live his life, waiting for. And the way they some police officers treat people with, what would you say, like belligerence, like just suspicion, when they've done, there's no evidence against the person like that. I guess, and Sam's question, to get back to that, was, so say one of our listeners is pulled over. Now, I know you don't know what state they're in, but generally, what are some good practices when you're interacting with the police at the roadside?
That video was CVS employee arrested waiting on bench for the Lyft driver.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's a good one. That was Florida. I believe maybe it was Edgewood, Florida. And some of those, like that one, like I will hear from the family, from the people involved, and learn so much more. Sometimes before the video because they bring it to me, but then sometimes they never brought me the video. I just found it somewhere. And then they reach out to me afterwards and kind of tell me the after story, what ended up happening, things I may not have known. That's a great example of something that just absolutely did not need to happen at all. There was no problem, no crime had been committed, nobody had called the police, nobody had asked for their help. It was just this one police officer who he thought he saw something suspicious with this kid just sitting there in a hoodie. But part of constitutional law is this idea that just because a police officer has a hunch based on nothing, it doesn't mean that the government is justified in seizing us or searching us. There has to be something objectively reasonable about what they're doing. So that's one of many examples. But what you have to keep in mind, or what people need to understand, is that there's a difference in what your rights are depending on where you are. So your rights are strongest in your home. When you're in your home is your castle. That's where Fourth Amendment protections, and generally we're speaking about the Fourth Amendment. Like, most of what I do involves the Fourth Amendment. Your right, to be free of unreasonable search and seizure. And through thousands and thousands of cases defining what that is, it becomes lots of different things. And the biggest difference just depends on your location, where you are. In your home is your castle, it's supposed to be, and that's where your Fourth Amendment protections are the strongest. And then when you get into your car and you drive somewhere, that's where your Fourth Amendment protections are the weakest. Very, very, very weak. Thanks to judicial activism, really. So when you're a pedestrian, like the kid in the hoodie, this is not a traffic stop. He's sitting on a bench in front of a CVS. Your Fourth Amendment protections are stronger, a lot stronger than when you're in a vehicle.
Wow.
Not as strong as in your home, but they're a lot stronger. So that's kind of the first thing you have to look at when you think of, what is the law governing the situation?
Guys, I'm going to tell you something, man. They're just printing money. This fractional reserve banking is out of control. They're trying to destroy the U.S. dollar. And the money you have in the bank every day is worth less and less. That's why you got to stabilize it in precious metals, gold, silver, and even more. And there's no better place to grab your precious metals than Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Let me tell you about Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. If you're paying attention, you know that de-dollarization is real. Fiat is fake, and you don't want to be left holding the bag when the dollar collapses. Gold and silver has been money through all of recorded history and are an excellent way to protect yourself from inflation and geopolitical turmoil. That's why I trust my friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for all things precious metal. Veteran owned and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. No transaction is too big or too small, and you can even roll over your 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver. And if you think you can't afford precious metals, think again. With the Wolf Pack monthly membership program, you can get gold and silver delivered directly to your door for as little as $50 a month. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver also deals in and accepts Bitcoin. So go to samtripoli.gold, promo code tinfoil at checkout to receive free constitutional silver. And remember, in the world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. Guys, we are in a battle with demons, okay? Depopulation's real. Nobody's getting pregnant. So we got to do something about it. One, stop pulling out. And two, you need to get bigger, better, faster, stronger, guys. And that's why we want to tell you about our good friends at Blue Chew. That's right, Blue Chew. That's right, American-made company for American boners, for American holes, whatever hole that might be. That's on you there, okay? We love rock hard, patriotic dicks around here, okay? And there's no better place. Listen, Blue Chew makes everything easier. No more going to the pharmacy, waiting in line, having to tell them what's wrong with you. Blue Chew is really simple. You go online, you take the quick survey, you talk to one of their online clinical professionals, and if you're right for it, and I know you are, okay, they're going to send you a package of manna, okay? That's right. We're talking boner pill, superstar boner pills. Blue Chew, that's right, sent right to your house in a discreet package, okay? Nobody has to know, or everyone can know. And when I get mine, I wave it to all my neighbors, go, guess who's getting lit up tonight? That's right, my lady, okay? And it's got all the ingredients of all the other ones for a fraction of the price. There's no better choice if you're looking for just that Ginsu hard dick, okay? If you're lazy, you want to give her something to talk about, rock her with a Blue Chew dick, and if you're into dudes, go have a good time. So here's what we're going to do. Guys, okay, this isn't about performance. This is about legacy, okay? Or third leg legacy. I wish I was that hung to have a third leg, okay? I'm stumpy. All right. Give her group chat something to talk about, a little rock hard dick to speak about. Okay. You know, when you lay it down, they're talking about how you get it up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code TINFOIL at checkout and pay only $5 for shipping. Simple. Done. Okay. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to bluechew.com for details and safety info. And guess what? We thank them. All of us say thank you.
Thank you, please.
They say thank you.
Thank you so much, Blue Chew.
Thank you, Blue Chew, for sponsoring the show.
So when you're at a traffic stop, again, your Fourth Amendment protections are at their lowest point, like they ever will be, unless you're incarcerated or you're on parole or probation or something like that. As far as when you actually get pulled over, some of the common things that I've done videos on, that I've seen, you see reoccurring issues. A big one is when the police officer asks the driver or the passenger to get out of the car. That's a lot of the problem. So there's this, a lot of times what you'll see is it's just not a big deal yet. It's just a traffic stop, just a speeding case, or it's an expired license plate. That's something I'd recommend, especially if you're breaking the law in some way. Make sure your tags are current. I mean, cops love that. I mean, I think sometimes like that's how they entertain themselves with their boredom during the day, is they try to spot tags that are expired. And they will pull you over every state if your tags are expired. But a traffic stop starts out that way. And then they don't really care that much about the expired tag. They want to turn it into something else. They want to fish for some sort of other charges, some sort of contraband. So that's where we have the issues. A lot of times they will ask somebody to get out of the car. Now, I've never personally been asked to get out of my car during a traffic stop, but this happens a lot. And so what will happen is people aren't expecting this. They're already nervous about being pulled over, and then they're asked to get out. And so it's very natural, I think, for somebody to ask why, why do I need to get out? And so that happens frequently. Then what happens? Well, then the cop sees this as not respecting their authority. And so now it becomes an ego thing, and the situation escalates. And sometimes that's the cop yanking them out of the car, or all sorts of other things. But as far as what the law is that people misunderstand, and the cops misunderstand as well, is there's this U.S. Supreme Court case called Pennsylvania versus Mims. And that stands for the fact that police officers at a valid traffic stop, they are allowed to order the driver out of the vehicle during the duration of the stop. There's sort of a companion case, I think it's Maryland versus Wilson, that applies that to the passengers as well. So any traffic stop, if a police officer wants to order somebody, either a driver or a passenger, out of the vehicle, they can do so. At least there's no federal constitutional prohibition from them doing that. There could be state law differences. There could be department policies on when they can do that or can't do that. But as far as what the Fourth Amendment prohibits or allows, it allows police officers to order people out of the vehicle during a traffic stop. Now, it gets a little complicated. So they do not have to explain to the driver who's being ordered out of his car what the reason is. Now, would it be a great idea to do that? just to be like a good government, a good public servant? Like this is not this is not some convicted criminal that you've just pulled over. It's just a citizen who's alleged to have been maybe speeding or has an expired tag. Like there's no reason to just want to put them in jail because they asked a question. So it would be a fantastic idea to explain to the person why you're ordering them out of the car. But a lot of times that's not what happens. So the person is genuinely curious why they're having to get out of the car or what they did wrong, and they're not being told. And when they ask, that's then being taken as a refusal to get out of the car. And now they end up getting forcibly dragged out of the car and then arrested for allegedly refusing to get out of the car when maybe they did not even refuse. They just asked a question. So many problems, so many videos is that identical issue of get out of the car. What did I do wrong? I'm not going to tell you again, get out of the car, boom. That happens all the time. I think people need to understand that they can be ordered out of the car and they have no right to be told what the reason is. And, just do it. Just do it.
Just get out of the car. So what you're saying is, if they say to get out of the car, you can ask why, and then if they don't give you a satisfactory answer on why, I mean, based on the videos I watch, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Wilson, who's doing videos on these things, but he's like, I'm like, just get out of the car at this point, because we saw that one video where I don't know what state it was. I want to say Minnesota, and I could be wrong on the state, but this kid gets pulled over. The cop keeps asking him to get out of the car. The kid won't get out of the car, and it just escalates to the kid ends up dead. And I mean,
I haven't seen that.
Well,
it happened a couple of years ago, but hold on.
Okay, go
but
ahead.
the point is, is there a point where you go, okay, my civil rights might be being violated, and I'm not saying I'm okay with that because I'm not, but is there a thing going, okay, this might escalate to a point of either me being thrown in jail, this went from a traffic ticket to a felony, or even worse, like what happened to this kid?
Yeah, there's always a difference between what I think you should do, what I would myself do, what I would want my children to do, and what is the law? What is the point at which officers are breaking the law? Being ordered to get out of the car is pretty solidly in favor of the police officer. Like, they are universally allowed to order you out of the car. Now, it's supposed to be for officer safety. Sometimes it's not. What police officers are technically not allowed to do, that many of them do, is they just order everybody out of the car because they just like that better. It makes them, there's something they like about it, because then they can sort of look the person up and down, see if there's any bulge in their pockets, and then maybe also get them away from dangerous traffic. They're supposed to be doing it for some theoretical officer safety reason. But if they're just doing it in every case, then that's what they're not supposed to do. And then some of them are using it, like I said, as a fishing expedition tool to try to find some sort of reason to search the person. And this is where police officers misunderstand the law. So if there's one Supreme Court case that cops generally know, like traffic cops, it's Pennsylvania versus Mims, saying that they can order the driver out of the car. Now, Pennsylvania versus Mims, the actual case had to do with a guy that a police officer thought was armed and dangerous because there was a bulge in his clothing indicating that he had a gun. So what police officers misunderstand is that they think that they can order anyone out of the car and then frisk them. And there are some cops that they just want to do that on every traffic stop, even if they have no reason to believe that the person is armed or dangerous, because that makes them feel safer or whatever. And the law does not allow them to do that. So while you have to get out of the car if you're ordered to, and you should, that doesn't give police officers the right to then frisk you and feel, your pants, feel your waistband to see if you have any weapons. And then if they feel something, what is that? And that is illegal. And a lot of police officers do that. So frisking people at traffic stops, that's what they're not allowed to do, unless they have some objective information indicating that the person is armed and dangerous. That's why some police officers will say, the first thing they say when they pull you over, do you have any weapons on you? Yeah. Which is bullshit when they do that, because that's what they're wanting to do, is come up with a justification to get you out of the car and frisk you and see what you have in your pockets.
So, and like in California, I know this is a different law, but like here, weed's legal, but doesn't that gives them a reason to search the car, right? Once they smell it, like they don't have to see it. They're like, oh, your car smells like weed. Now I have to search the car. I mean, what's the smell? Can he prove he smelled it? He can prove he didn't smell it.
How
much of a
right?
smell? Yeah, how much of a smell are we talking? What if I smelled 3 weeks ago?
Smell like, I guess the question is, are you intoxicated to drive?
Yeah, but that's their logic. If it smells, you got to be intoxicated.
If they find a joint in there, I don't know if that's necessarily illegal anymore.
It's supposed to be in the trunk. It's supposed to be in the trunk, nothing in the front, just like liquor. You're supposed to
have your joint in the trunk?
Just like liquor. It's got to be in the trunk. Just like liquor. You can't have it because then they assume that you can just light it up at any moment while you're driving. It gets really sketchy. But that's what I was asking them, how at one point can they search your car with just smelling it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that depends on the state that you're in. So that for a long time, that has been a trick that cops have used, not because they actually care about whether you have any weed in your car or whether you're too high to drive. They use that as just a pretext because they want to search your car. And so it depends now where you've had states legalize it in different ways. It creates a very complicated sort of spider web of the law being different in different states. So Texas, I can tell you, the last time I did a video on one of those in Texas, Texas is in the Fifth Circuit, and you have to look at these to figure out what the constitutional law is in any particular location. It's very important which federal appellate circuit they're in, because that's where the case law comes from that basically says what the law is. And so the Fifth Circuit is pretty favorable towards police officers, and Texas is in the Fifth Circuit. So under Texas law, weed is still illegal, last I checked. And so there's a bunch of Texas state case law and also federal Fifth Circuit case law saying that it's still the case in Texas that police officers, if they smell weed, that's probable cause for them to then search your car. And that's the old trick that cops across the country used as an investigative tool. Now, some states have done away with that. Like, I think maybe Florida recently had a case saying that just the smell of marijuana is not enough, but it's still going very strong in Texas. I'm not sure about California, but that's the thing with these things is the law can be very, very complicated. And so one of the first things that I have to constantly do is when I'm doing a video on something is look up the law. Even if I think I know it or I did know it at one time, like you have to refresh your recollection, and you also have to make sure that the law hasn't changed.
That's fascinating.
So one thing, because I also want to get into your home. And I want to get into the Second Amendment. But one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times in these, whatever it is, whether it's a traffic stop or even shoplifting or something like that, people always like, I want to talk to your superior. Yeah, have you noticed that? They always want to talk to the
sergeant.
superior. Give me your superior right now. Mm-hmm. And does that do anything at all? And I don't know what they think the superior is going to do to help them in this situation, or why they would have to talk to the superior.
In the profession most famous for having each other's backs. Like, what's that guy going to come out and do? Like, you're wrong.
I feel like you're buying time, and time is running out.
Yeah, or badge numbers. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's another big sort of misconception is that you have to ask for an officer's badge number. Generally, I think that only pisses them off. So, I mean, if your goal is to test out, to flex your rights, to test your rights out, to maybe create content for YouTube videos, then that's probably a decent way of escalating the situation, if that's what you want to do. But I don't think there's any actual benefit. If you're just like me and you just want the government to leave you alone, you want to go on your way and keep these cops out of your life, there's no benefit to asking for a badge number or asking for a supervisor. These are just sort of unnecessary escalations generally. I don't know if I've ever seen a case, I probably have, but where somebody did that and a supervisor actually shows up and the supervisor like turns to their underling and says, you know what, this citizen is right. Like you should not have done that. Sorry, sir, please proceed on your day. I mean, that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, just like you said, they are going to immediately be on the defensive, and now they're looking for ways to screw you.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that you can do at traffic stops is, if you want to be as safe as possible, have dash cams in your car. I mean, there's so many options out there. You have dash cams that can prove what your driving was and what it was not just prior to the stop, and that can record the audio. I think it's always and so if you're doing that, they train cops to be professional witnesses, not just in court, but they're trained on how to testify in court, but they're trained to be professional witnesses for the body cam, for bystanders who are filming. That's why they're always saying, stop resisting, stop resisting. Like they're not being serious. This is theatrics. They're being a good witness for the government. And that's what they were taught to do.
Shit.
And there's no reason why everyone can't play that game. So if you're recording video with a dash cam or in some other way, or just relying on the body cam, like you need to be a good witness for yourself also, because, and from my civil rights lawyer hat, not just content creator hat, if I'm looking for a case to take, and people struggle to find a civil rights lawyer to take these cases because they have to, it's an investment that I have to be willing to invest tens of thousands of dollars in somebody's case. I want it's already difficult to win. I want the best possible case that I can get. So do I want a client who is going to be a good witness or a client who's going to be a terrible witness? And how do you tell the difference between those two? Well, what is a jury going to like more? At the end of the day, you're going to have a jury judging your client and judging the police officer who's involved in the situation. So the police officer is already trained to be a good witness. Sometimes they're not, but people can be terrible witnesses for themselves. So if you know you're being recorded and you're just being a dick to the cop just to be a dick, like a jury is not going to like that. What a jury likes the most is if you are polite. Now, if you are being polite and the cop is still treating you in this way, to a jury, it looks like the cop is the one being the dick. But if a jury perceives that the driver or your client is a jerk, and there's so many people out there that are just going to say, well, F around, find out.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important for people to be good witnesses for themselves, and rarely are they. I mean, sometimes when cops mistreat like a teenager or an elderly person, it really pisses people off, because you just have this dichotomy of somebody that they really empathize with And then the cop's just doing what he always does, but they really, really, they really, really look bad because the other person is just so empathetic. And that's one thing that you have control over. So if you are a good witness for yourself because you're being polite, that could just make all the difference in the world. And, nobody wants to see you using profane language and provoking the cop. And while the law may require the cop to put up with that and not retaliate against you, like we all know that that's going to happen. And there are so many people that could be on a jury that aren't going to care. They're going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So if you would just be a good witness, not only would it possibly result in a better outcome for you, but if the cop still does the wrong thing and it ends up going to court, it's going to be easier to find a lawyer, and it's going to be easier to get justice and accountability and win your case, because it's much, much easier to represent somebody who is likable than somebody who is on video just acting like a jerk.
Hey guys, it's getting cold out. There's holiday parties and plans everywhere. And guess what? When that happens, I just want a simple look, looks good, super sharp, and something I actually want to wear, okay? It's real simple. And that for me is Quince, okay? And guess what? Here's a little bonus for you. Quince pieces make great gifts too, okay? A real great, a little for me, a whole lot for you, okay?
This season's lineup at Quince is simple but smart and easy. $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters that feel like an everyday luxury, and wool coats that are equal parts stylish and durable. Their denim nails the fit and everyday comfort, all at the fraction of what you'd expect to pay normally. By partnering directly with ethical factories and top artisans, Quince cuts out the middlemen to deliver premium quality at half the cost of other high-end brands. So this holiday season, you can give luxury quality pieces without the luxury price tag.
And you guys know I'm super fashionable. I'm the one that's fashionable on tinfoil hats. So I go to Quince, I get the cashmere, I got the jackets, I got the hoodies, I got the accessories. It's the one place to go, baby.
So here's what we need. Give and get timeless holiday staples that last this season with Quince. Go to quince.com/tinfoil hat for free shipping on your order and 365 days return. That's for eternity. That's eternity, 365 days. Now available in Canada too. Yeah, finally a win for Canada. They could use them. Oh my God, what'd you do with those ostriches? That's QUINCE.com/tinfoil hat. Free shipping and a whopping 365-day return. Quince.com/tinfoil hat. We thank them for sponsoring this show. Guys, real quick, I'm going to tell you about my dates. First, I'm going to be this weekend in New Orleans. Skankfest. I'm in Vegas for Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night, The Virgin, on the 21st. Minneapolis. Then I'm going to be in New Year's in Morris Plain, New Jersey. Then we're back on January 10th for the big World War Debate. WW1 will be live in Atlantic City. Grab your tickets now. Let's get back to it. So, as somebody who has people, in my life, throughout my life, struggle with mental illness, I watch so many of these videos and I go, oh, dude, that guy's got, borderline personality disorder, mental illness and stuff like that. It's really hard to watch. Like, do you think and I know you're not a psychologist or anything like that, but what percentage of these like out of control videos that we see, do you think that people suffer from mental illness?
Yeah, I think that is a lot of situations, especially shooting cases.
Yeah.
And I would do more shooting cases if the rules on YouTube were a little more lax as far as, what I could get away with. I'm highly interested in like those fact patterns, like, shooting, because they're basically self-defense cases. But I don't do a lot of them just because of the rules on YouTube.
You go
But
on
that
Rumble,
comes-
dude. Rumble will probably let you do that. Rumble's been getting a lot of heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'd let me do it, but it's like my 1.5 million subscribers are on YouTube, not Rumble.
No, I
Yeah.
understand.
No, totally.
And that's where people would see it. And I mean, I get it. It's their platform, their rules, but there's so many of those are mental health situations. And I've done a lot of mental health cases, like I think, I don't know how many. I mean, there was one I did in California with a top civil rights lawyer there in California, of this guy who was just in a park, and cops came up to him and started harassing him, put him in handcuffs, and then slammed his head first into the concrete. And it did kill him eventually, but after like an agonizing stay in the hospital, I don't know how long it was, but I mean, it was just a terrible, terrible case. And the guy, I mean, he had serious mental health issues, and they just treated him like he didn't. And if you're gonna be in that job, of course it's a difficult job, but you are signing up to interact with the public, sometimes the worst sorts in the public, in all sorts of different complex situations. I mean, you're dealing with elderly people with dementia. You're dealing with people that have serious mental health issues. Like you can't just treat everybody like, they're a nail and you're a hammer. You have to be able to tell the difference between somebody who has mental health problems and somebody who doesn't. And that's something that is really sorely lacking in law enforcement, I believe, is the capability of, instead of just going ego first and proving your authority through violence, why not like have empathy for people? And I mean, if you're trying to protect life, why not take a few extra steps to think about and understand whether or not this person, has a mental health problem, whether they need help, whether you can help them. I mean, that's tough. I know that's a tough scenario, and there's, sometimes limited resources, but I think they handle it so many times like the exact wrong way.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And traffic stops too. I mean, you're dealing with like people, like teenagers, teenagers who knows how nervous or anxious somebody's going to, or like, women commonly.
Yes.
Just your regular housewife gets pulled over, and she may be terrified, absolutely terrified. And, that has to be taken into account. If you're just barking orders and being rude to somebody, who knows what they're hearing or how they're going to process that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a trend in law enforcement being trained in promoting just aggressive escalation. Get out of the car, and if they don't get out of the car, boom, like you're getting violent, you're busting the windshield. Why not like take a step back if it's not an emergency, and stop and think, like we're dealing with the failure to signal within like 200 yards or whatever the reason for the stop is. Like just slow down a second and talk to this person.
Have some empathy.
No, that's like that.
Because some of the best cops that I know are people that do that. Like they're in the job not because it's exciting to them, and they want to be in chases and shootouts. They want to get this thrill out of it. Like they're the ones that are in there because they want to actually help people. They understand those situations where they get to a call where somebody is, they want to be killed by the police, to where they're like putting the brakes on and trying to help the person.
It's like that one case. I don't know if you remember the what is it? Will McNeil from Florida, the one that where the cop punches him through the windshield. You seen it? You remember this one? This black guy with the red T-shirt.
Yeah, but there was a lot more to that. The video came out later that was a little bit more than just him sitting there.
Yeah, I don't remember if I did a video on that one or not. I remember people asking me to. I don't think that I did.
It's interesting. Now, I wonder how much you think it's down to. It seems a lot of these guys, many of them anyway, they're in your videos, are like ex-military, and they're kind of, still treating people like hostiles, and when they're like overseas, rather, and because they come in all this tack gear and stuff, I think a lot of them maybe have mental illness or PTSD and feel like they're still in the field,
a war zone.
Yeah, in a war zone, and they treat people like combatants rather than civilians with rights. How often do you see that?
Going back to that video that happened with the CVS employee, I can remember now that cop, I think it was Edgewood, Florida. That guy he had been in infantry, like grunt, and had been deployed somewhere. And I can remember somebody else, I don't remember if it was on X or in a comment on the video, somebody saying, yep, that seems like that's like an infantry grunt if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
And that's how you would be treating somebody in the context of, dealing with somebody on some base or overseas.
Here's just a little bit of that. We'll look at it. Here we go.
Struggling, but he's working. Gets off of work at CVS at 10 o'clock. It's only been
I should say we're watching. If you're listening, we're watching the video now. I know it's might be confusing to you to hear his voice again, but this is the video we're watching.
This is his video.
Minutes.
Yeah,
it was
his video. Yeah, John.
His sister who called for a lift. He's waiting on the Lyft driver. He's sitting on a bench. He gets up off the bench to put on his hoodie. A police officer on patrol just happens to see this. He believed the CVS to be closed. He believed Paul to be hiding behind a pillar, but no crime was committed. Paul says he wasn't hiding. He was just putting on a hoodie. The police officer then approaches Paul. Paul, who undisputedly had committed no crime, was immediately detained and threatened with violence.
ID card. Something with your name on it.
That's my right. I'm gonna go ahead and go.
No, you're not.
I didn't break any laws, sir. So
Stop, dude. You can make an emergency, please. I got one resisting.
I work here, sir. I just got off work.
Dude, you're gonna get tased.
Okay, I work here.
Turn around.
I work.
Stand up and turn around.
Okay, I work here, sir.
Put your hands behind your back. Don't move.
And even though the officer discovered that he was wrong, he arrested Paul, charged him with a crime, and took him to jail anyways, where he stayed for 3 days, just to teach him a lesson about what Officer Rippion believed to be his authority as a police officer, even where no crime had previously been committed.
This is my ride. Just 1 second. Hey, you're good to go. He doesn't need a ride anymore. I'm gonna give him one. You are going to jail tonight. Do you really work here?
I swear to God, I work here.
I do believe that he works here. He's gonna learn, fortunately, the hard way. So.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, I do believe him. He wouldn't fucking lie to himself. So. Yeah.
Now, what should have happened is.
Yeah. Now, so, well, how's that? I mean, do you have to ID yourself if you're just in public like that? How does that work, John?
Yeah, I mean, that can be complicated because state laws can be different. What is not different across the country is the Fourth Amendment prohibition that police officers cannot detain you unless they have reasonable suspicion. So the particular state law, like you'll see these charts about which states are stop and ID states, and it's kind of a misnomer because different states can have different laws. And Florida's is particularly complex, actually. But they, say they have some state law that makes it a crime to not provide identifying information to a police officer under certain circumstances, such as if they're at a traffic stop, and sometimes they list A, B, C, and D. Now, that law, the technicalities of when that law is violated can be different in every state. But none of those different state laws, which we could refer to as stop and ID laws, or the lack thereof, none of them could say that a police officer can stop you and demand your ID under threat of arrest in the lack of any reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed. So that cannot occur no matter what the particular state law was. So in the CVS case, regardless of what Florida, says that, regardless of what Florida law says, there still has to be reasonable suspicion to detain somebody. And that's what you're doing when you're a police officer and you're forcing somebody to give you. And here's what people should do. Remember when I said that your rights are different depending on whether you're at your home or whether you're in your car or whether you're a pedestrian. The kid at CVS, this was not a traffic stop. Cops love traffic stops because they already have reasonable suspicion, and that's whatever traffic violation they say occurred. When they just approach a pedestrian like that, sometimes they don't even realize they're violating constitutional rights because their department policy may say, all right, every time you encounter somebody during a call or an incident, the step number one is you get their ID and you radio it to dispatch, and then we see if the person has any warrants, and we make a record of whomever you interacted with during your shift. Like, okay, that may or may not be constitutional depending on the situation. So if it's a pedestrian and this officer has not been called to the scene, he has not observed any crime being committed, nobody has told him a crime has been committed, but he just sees somebody that he thinks for some reason is suspicious. And if he goes up to that person and he demands ID and the person doesn't want to give it and he doesn't allow the person to leave, well, he better have reasonable suspicion that some crime has been committed because he has detained that person. There's also a difference between, and I know this is complicated, but there are three different types of encounters with the police. There are so-called consensual encounters. Then there are investigatory detentions, also called Terry stops, and then there are arrests. So depending on the facts, you're going to have one of those three situations. So how could this have gone differently? And this is all supposed to be things that are taught to police officers, like in police academy, and it's not. Like, I guarantee you it's not. Like, most cops could not tell you this basic constitutional law 101. So if you see something that you think's, it doesn't mean you can't not go do your job. Like, if you really think something's not right, like somebody is looking suspicious, there is nothing stopping you from going up and investigating that person and talking to that person. I could do that. You're allowed to do that. That's fine. You go up to this kid and you say, hey, what are you doing? You can say, what's your name? You can say whatever you want. The difference was when they cross that line of, it goes from consensual to compulsory. So in a consensual encounter, police officers don't have to tell you. They can ask you questions. They don't have to tell you that you don't have to answer. So that's why it's always good to remember, if you're a pedestrian, all you have to say is, am I free to leave? And that answers that question. Because if you're free to leave, you leave. You can leave. If he says you're not free to leave, the police officer has just admitted that he has now crossed that line from consensual encounter to an investigatory detention, aka a Terry stop. And at that point, there has to be something more than just a hunch that can't be objectively proven. There has to be some sort of actual, articulable, reasonable suspicion. And so that's where this cop screwed up here, is even if it was his practice or department policy to get IDs of everyone he interacts with, excuse me, here he had no real reasonable suspicion to force it. So he could ask the kid for his ID, he could ask him what he's doing, and that's what he should have done. But when he decided to flex his authority, or what he believed it to be, and tell the kid he couldn't leave, he couldn't go get in that lift vehicle, and that he had to, under threat of arrest, give him his ID, or be tased, threat of violence, actually. Crazy. He had crossed that line into, well, he crossed two lines, into the both a detention and then into a warrantless arrest, which requires even more in the form of probable cause. So that was that case really is, in a nutshell, a very educational video, because nothing had happened at all. There was no crime. No crime had occurred, yet all of that happened, which really it really screwed up that kid's life, because I talked to his family afterwards, and he really did get fired from CVS, and he was struggling, like, in life. Like, that really
fired for that? Really?
Did they counter with any lawsuits or anything?
I don't remember specifically. My recollection is that my recollection is that he did get fired, because, see,
that's so lame.
You know, one of the reasons I do this, what I do now, is because you can only get so much accountability through a lawsuit. And even being able to file a lawsuit when the police violate your rights is almost impossible, because you don't have the knowledge to do it yourself. You don't have the money to hire a lawyer to actually pay what it would cost, especially one that would know how to do it, because most lawyers wouldn't just know how to do this sort of thing. And so you're relegated to the position of convincing a lawyer who does know how to do it, not for free, but to finance it themselves with their time and their actual money. And it is significant, even if it's a very minor constitutional violation. So what you end up with is, if you got shot or you got killed, or you are somebody very important that just being arrested financially harmed you greatly, and therefore there's a lot of damages to be collected, it's going to be almost impossible to find a lawyer to even file a lawsuit. So and even if they do, there's qualified immunity. There's a bunch of hurdles that makes it very difficult to win. The point is, the government is not afraid of lawsuits. There is one thing that the government is very afraid of, and that is extremely effective, and that is public outrage. And so the reason that there was any accountability or justice in that scenario is just because I made that YouTube video. Before I did that, nobody cared. I think CVS, to my recollection, I want to say they fired him. I could be wrong, but I think he had gotten fired. I mean, and I guess all they know is that their employee had been charged with a crime.
No, he missed work. He went to jail for 3 days. Let's say you work the next 3 days, and then you're fired. They don't give a fuck. Jail. They don't care that you got arrested. They're just another guy on the list. Let's hire another person. That's exactly what happened for sure.
It could be that they offered him his job back later, whatever he hired him. I don't know. My recollection is that even after he got out of jail, he didn't have his job anymore, and like he just moved on with his life and moved off somewhere, and his family was worried about him. And how many times does that happen where there is no YouTube video made about it? Yeah. Where there's some accountability. Here, only because I made that video, did it get in front of people's eyes in order for them to get upset about it. And only when that happened did that local government do something about it. And I don't know whether they fired that guy or he resigned because they were going to fire him, but I think they announced that they had parted ways after that occurred, and then the criminal charges were dropped. And were they going to do all of that before the public saw what happened and got pissed about it? No.
Of course. Think about before body cams. Nobody. This would have never. It would just been another case in this guy's docket, at court for him to lie about. Thank God for body cameras.
So
yeah, I mean, that video in particular, I mean, there's many like it, but just look at how that cop is acting, like how confident he is. You can tell that he does not care what the 11th Circuit or the Florida Supreme Court says about when you can forcibly ID a pedestrian in front of a CVS. He doesn't care. I mean, like, no are given at all. And he even says, like, this guy's like, you know, he basically admits on camera that he is retaliating against this kid and trying to make his life as difficult as possible. I mean, he's freely admitting that because he's probably done it so many times before. That's like every night he does this stuff. Like, he's not expecting it to end up on YouTube. He's not expecting the public that he serves to actually see how he's doing it.
Does it worry you now that you're seeing more? Because I noticed this in some of the videos I've seen, that they're kind of they're becoming more aware of the body cameras now, so that you see them, like, even though they're not supposed to, like, turning them off to have conversations, like sidebars and stuff. Does that, are you seeing that more often as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just nice. I think there's no downside to having video. The body cam, I think, helps the police way more often than it hurts them. I mean, it's a fantastic investigatory tool. Like, if we want to fight crime and successfully prosecute criminals, I mean, you've got it all on video, and the video doesn't discriminate. So it's a fantastic tool. We do see videos where they will turn them off or make it very difficult for the public or even criminal defendants to access body cam video. For instance, North Carolina is probably the worst state in the country.
Johnny, you guys suck.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you know, I was born in North Carolina. I went to UNC for law school.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, that's where I went to school too. Nice.
Yeah.
Go Heels.
Yeah, I'm a Tar Heel also.
Right on, dude. I didn't know that. It's cool.
Yeah. But North Carolina is terrible. Like, it's very difficult to get any kind of body cam footage out.
Wait, so what's your process? Do you FOIA those? Do you just file a FOIA? Is that, and then what? They drag their feet, or they make you pay for the paperwork? What's their process to?
Well, North Carolina is its own thing. I think you have to actually go to court and get a judge to release body cam in North Carolina. Whoa. But other states, like my state, to get body cam, we just send a letter saying this is a FOIA request and this is, you know, the specific video that we're requesting and anything else pertaining to the incident.
That should
and they send it, or either don't send it. Now, generally, in most of these states, you can. It's just that easy to get body cam, but there will be statutory exceptions. So the biggest one that you'll see is when there is still a criminal case pending, and that applies here in West Virginia as well. So as long as, you know, before the case gets resolved, if there is a case, if it's body cam you're requesting that has resulted in criminal charges, they generally will not release that body cam footage to any third party until those criminal charges have been resolved. Now, they're supposed to release it to the actual criminal defendant who is in the video. But I interact with a lot of people who have complaints about what the police did or did not do to them. And so many actual criminal defendants, people who got charged, cannot even get their own body cam. And they may have a public defender, and they are entitled to that footage. I mean, under no circumstances as a lawyer should you try to get your client to enter a plea of guilty to anything without having first watched the body cam footage, if there is body cam footage. But very frequently, especially like public defenders or appointed counsel, they will frequently get people to plead guilty to things, to enter plea deals where there is body cam footage, but they haven't received it through discovery in the criminal case for various reasons. Maybe just laziness, or it could be something more nefarious, like because it shows that rights were violated and the government doesn't want to hand it over, and it's just easier for the public defender to plead the guy to something and move on to the next case. But so many people end up pleading guilty to something, and there was body cam footage, and they didn't get it. Their lawyer didn't even bother to get it first. And so there I am trying to get it after the guy has already pled guilty to it, which I can get it because the criminal case is over with, but then it may be a problem because no lawsuit can be filed because the government got the person to plead guilty even if he wasn't guilty because it was a good deal. Like he didn't have to do a single day in jail, maybe minimum fine. So they were happy with it, but now the government has protected itself because now they can't be sued because the guy admitted to it.
I think maybe now we get into like your rights in your home, right?
I want to talk about two things: homes and Second Amendment. Before we let you go, again, watch a lot of these videos, and I think people, and I could be totally wrong, but there seems to be this kind of thing where people think that cops aren't allowed to enter their house. Now I know they're only allowed to enter if they have reasonable suspicion. But there seems to be also like people when a spouse or a child calls about domestic abuse, they're like, no, you can't come in my house. I have the rights on my house. You're not coming in my house. What is that line?
Yeah, so let me just get the terms clear. Okay, so remember, you have the three different places. You have the home, you have your vehicle, and then you have pedestrian. And then you also have three different types of encounters with the police. You have consensual encounters, and then you have consensual encounters where the person theoretically is free to leave, free to not answer any questions, and the police officer has no obligation to have anything, no reasonable suspicion, no probable cause, nothing. That's a consensual encounter. Secondly, you have a detention, a Terry stop, an investigatory detention. That requires reasonable suspicion. So that's like what the officer was supposed to have at the CVS. And that's not an arrest. That's just some sort of reasonable detention, like forcing ID, something small like that, reasonable under the circumstances. And then the third sort of interaction you can have with law enforcement is an arrest. And so an arrest requires more than reasonable suspicion. It requires either a warrant or probable cause, which is just a higher standard than reasonable suspicion. For instance, a crime was committed right in front of the officer. So remember, three types of interactions, three types of locations. So if you're talking about you're in your home, then you're in the strongest location, like I said, Fourth Amendment wise, where you have the most rights in your home. So even if you said reasonable suspicion, even if a police officer has reasonable suspicion that you committed a crime, a police officer cannot go arrest you at your home. Even if a police officer has probable cause to arrest you for a crime, maybe he saw you do it. If you were at Starbucks, he would be justified in arresting you, putting you in handcuffs and taking you to jail. But if you're at your home, he can't do that. So you're in the most protected place. There are only a few narrow circumstances where if you're in your home, the police can come and arrest you. The best way is if they have a warrant, if they have an arrest warrant, and that's generally what they have to have. There's a U.S. Supreme Court decision, I think it's Payton versus New York. It says for the government, for the police to come arrest you in your home, there must be an arrest warrant. But they can do that if they have an arrest warrant. So even if they know you committed a crime, even if they have probable cause you committed it, they cannot come arrest you at your home without an arrest warrant. That is the basic rule. There are important exceptions to that. Like you brought up domestic violence. That is a common one. So there's two main exceptions to this warrant requirement. One is consent. So you can waive pretty much any right. So the cops show up at your door without a warrant and they say, like, we want to arrest you. You could theoretically consent and say, even though you do not have a warrant and I have a right not to be arrested in my home right now, I will waive that right and allow you to arrest me. So that is theoretically possible if it was a voluntary waiver. And that would be a terrible mistake. That's less common. The more common one is called exigent circumstances, which is basically an emergency situation of some sort. And this most commonly comes up in like domestic violence cases, or could just be something else. So why are the cops there? So if the cops show up at your house because somebody from inside your house has called them, then they probably do not need a warrant, because they're going to have exigent circumstances. And that's going to be really any domestic violence case. So no warrant is required because there's some reason to believe that somebody may be in danger inside the house. But what if it was a neighbor who called the cops, not somebody from in the house? Or it was just a Karen call. So cops show up to your house, they have no warrant, they're responding to a call. You stay inside your house and you don't want to come out. You don't want to engage with them. Can they go in? And that would require exigent circumstances, some sort of belief, some sort of reasonable belief that they need to go into the house now before going to get a warrant, because somebody's life's in danger. And there are some other, it's also possible they could do that in the scenario of drugs being flushed down the toilet is technically possible for law enforcement to do that, but that's pretty rare these days. But preserving evidence that's in the process of being destroyed can be a justification for entering. But the most common one is just because they have some reason to believe that somebody's in danger inside the house. Otherwise, they do have to have a warrant.
Now, I've seen a few times, and maybe this is a state by state thing, but where they try to entice people out of their homes and then they could, in some cases, arrest you like on your front porch or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to rank all the things that people don't know that they need to know about Interact, and I'm not talking about like helping criminals do their job better.
Course,
I'm just talking about regular folks who find themselves, interacting with the police. When the cops show up at your door, remember there are those three different categories. There's a consensual encounter, there's a detention, and then there's an arrest. So if they show up at your door, usually what they're doing is a consensual encounter that law enforcement calls, and the courts call a knock and talk. So that's an investigatory tool to where, if Karen calls the cops on me, the cops are within their rights to come up to my door, knock on the door, and if I want to come open the door and answer their questions for hours, I can do that. They don't have to have probable cause. They don't have to have a warrant. They don't have to have reasonable suspicion, because the courts will consider that a consensual encounter. And even though I don't know that, nobody has taught me that, like the police officer did not say, this is a consensual encounter. I'm only here until you tell me to leave. If you tell me to leave, I'll leave. You don't have to answer any of my questions. They're not going to tell you that, and they don't tell anyone that. They come up to the door with their uniform, with their badge on, maybe with other cops standing behind them in an intimidating way, and they just say they have questions. And they make it sound like you have no choice, but that's not the case. People need to know that if law enforcement does not have a warrant, you can tell them to go away. You don't have to open the door. You don't have to answer any questions. That is a consensual encounter. If you read the case law, the courts compare it to a Girl Scout selling cookies, which is absurd. But that's sort of the legal fiction that we live in. So the police officers are only allowed to do what a Girl Scout selling cookies would do.
That's crazy.
So funny, isn't it? So
people don't know that. So like most of these cases, they could tell. Like I just did one a couple days ago on the cops with the flock camera. and they showed up and they accused this woman of stealing a $25 package off of somebody's porch. And the whole time she could have just told the guy to go, to get the hell off her property. Yeah. But she didn't know the difference between a consensual encounter and a non-consensual encounter. The important thing is to know that when you're in your home, everything is a consensual encounter. Either they have a warrant or it's an emergency situation. But if they're just asking you questions, like, you can tell them to leave.
Now,
like,
do your protections change though when you go out on your porch in some states? How does that work?
Right. So it gets more into a gray area, and it can depend. And this is also important to know because you can increase your constitutional protections like outside your home if you want to. Like, you can life hack this. So if you read the case law, there's a concept called curtilage. So there was a case from Florida, I think it was 2013, Florida versus Jardines. And in that case, the law was that the police cannot search your home without a search warrant. But what they were doing is they're taking a drug dog and they came up onto this guy's porch, and then they were having the drug dog sniff on the guy's porch. And that made its way to the Supreme Court. The defendant was claiming that, that's basically a search of the home. Like, he's on my porch. Yeah. And the front porch is attached to the home, et cetera, et cetera. And the Supreme Court agreed and held that the front porch of the home, in that case, is a part of what's called the curtilage. And the curtilage is, areas around your home, areas around your home to which you have this reasonable expectation of privacy, because it's like a part of your home. And that makes sense because we all have like outdoor living spaces. We have yards. And so the law is now that within the curtilage around your home, that's basically the same thing as inside your home for these purposes. So the police cannot come and search within the curtilage of your home without a search warrant. Like, if your car is parked within the curtilage of your home, they can't search that car in the same way they could as if your car was parked out on the street. So
interesting.
There becomes, the curtilage around your house is just as protected as inside the house. So the issue pops up very frequently of, well, how do we define this space? What is the curtilage? And that's where people can sort of life hack this. Because if you look at the case law, they will look at several things to define what this area is. Is it fenced in? Is there a gate? Is there a no trespassing sign? And going back to the Girl Scout, if you made it so that a Girl Scout is actually not welcome to come sell you cookies, you take that ability away from them, which they call implied consent. They abuse this concept of Girl Scouts selling cookies.
The welcome mat is implied consent. That's hilarious. That's so fun.
Right. So part of the merch that I have on my YouTube channel is a welcome mat and other signs that you can place around your house that say, like, I hereby revoke any implied consent that you, law enforcement, want to abuse.
God. That's so good. That's the best merch I've ever heard. That's so great.
I'm paraphrasing, but that is the direction that we're heading in, because law enforcement has been abusing this Girl Scout analogy for a long time. And the theory is that, all right, if Girl Scouts are allowed to come up and knock on your door, then law enforcement is allowed to do that, so long as it's a consensual encounter. And we all pretend that it's the same thing, even though it's not. But there are things that you can do to take that argument away from them. So if you look at the case law, they will say, well, it's not really that curtilage-y because there was a gate, but it was open. Or there was a fence, but it was just like a decorative fence. So like you can put a more serious fence up. Like, you can put a more serious gate in. You can put a more serious sign in, and then you can make it bigger. Like, if you live on a farm, like, you could have just a little fence around your house, a little area of curtilage that very clearly is curtilage. But if the courts say that's how you define it, why can't I make it bigger? So what I would do is just make a big ass, like huge wall, like make it look like an embassy. And then like you have a great, and then you're very specific with your signs, like no law enforcement unless, like prior written consent, or something like that. And then you take these arguments away from them because that's what they're doing. Even when like the ATF or the FBI comes to, goon squad you, they're only relying on this Girl Scout fiction, whether it's state, local, or federal. So that's one thing that you can affirmatively do ahead of time is, take these arguments away from them. And now you have doorbell videos and all that. Those are all effective tools that people can use. But the most important thing is that people need to understand those concepts that the biggest law enforcement tool that your government will use against you, if they want to get you, they think you have committed some crime, but they have no evidence. They want you to provide that evidence. They want a statement from you. They want you to say something incriminating. What are they going to do? They don't have enough to get a warrant, or else they'd get a warrant. They're going to do a knock and talk. They're going to come and knock on your door, just see how it goes. Start asking you questions and see if you answer. Even if you feel intimidated, they don't care. So people need to know that like you don't have to open the door if they don't have a warrant. Like you can talk to them through your doorbell camera. You can ask them to leave, and I would be polite. I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You remember, you always want to be a good witness for yourself, especially if you have a doorbell camera recording. Like you want to be the good guy in this story. You want to seem like the reasonable one that normal people are going to watch and say, "Hey, that could happen to me." Not.
Oh, it's such a good point. Yeah, you want the jury to identify with you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you always, because law enforcement is doing that. They are training each other to be professional witnesses, and putting your hands up, even if you're actually being aggressive and approaching. Some people will see that and they remember like you were in a defensive posture, and so you always need to be a good witness for yourself. And the easiest way to do that is just not to be a jerk and be polite. If somebody's going to be a jerk, let it be the law enforcement officer that's involved. So cops show up at your door. It's 99% of the time a consensual encounter to which you can decline to participate. Now, not the same when you're in a traffic stop. But like I said, the home, you're highly protected.
I just wanted to, you sent a couple. I just wanted to, this is the.
As you do that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the exact law for the Girl Scout or the precedence is what? What is the exact precedence so when people are like thinking about the Girl Scout precedence, what is the exact precedence?
Yeah, I have a graphic I can show you, but you just remember there are 3 different types of interactions that you would have with the police. One is a consensual encounter. Second one
and that means I consent to this encounter.
Right. So a consensual encounter is just, law enforcement can walk up to you if you're a pedestrian and start talking to you, asking you questions. And theoretically, you're free to leave in a consensual encounter, but they're not going to tell you that. They don't have to tell you that. So that's why if you're a pedestrian, like you want to say, am I free to go? And that gets to the point of, wait a minute, am I being detained and I have to comply with what you're asking me, or am I free to go? When you're at your home, they don't even have the same ability to just detain you. Like they can't do it. They have to get a warrant. So there's really that only one type of encounter, unless they have a warrant, is a consensual encounter. So it's almost always a consensual encounter, and it's just the default. Unless law enforcement can justify a seizure because they have a warrant or there's some emergency happening, then you are free to decline to interact with law enforcement when they're at your door. But there's no case law that you necessarily need to know. It's just you need to know whether or not it's a consensual encounter. And so you can say, am I free, you know, am I free to close my door, you know, if you're at your door? I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Am I free to go? You know, if you say, will you please leave my property? I don't want to have a conversation with you. I mean, that's the equivalent when you're standing at your door. And if they have a warrant, they're not doing that anyways. Like they're already they're already coming in. Yeah. So it's almost always going to be a consensual encounter. So whenever the cops come to your door, like you don't really need to know any case law or anything. You just tell them to go away.
Okay. Okay. All right. Johnny, do you want to show something?
Yeah. You sent a couple of your favorite videos, and I just want. This is one especially. This is the shorter version of it for our listeners here, but this is just insanity.
Two best friends were driving in Texas. One is 100% blind, and the other is a paraplegic.
Take off. Now left. Hey, not hard left. Just yeah. All right, now you're on the driveway. I'm gonna catch up. Go on, give her a little juice. Yeah, I'm rolling with a wheelchair, baby. All right, be right.
No.
Back right.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, stop.
Cops pull them over and order them out of the car.
Step out for me, sir.
I do not consent to a search. This is unlawful.
All right, I need you to get out of the car, sir.
I do not have a wheelchair. You idiot. My legs do not work.
One can't see and one can't walk. So what did the cops do?
Okay, well then we're gonna search the car with you sitting in it.
That's illegal, sir.
So no, it's not, sir. Odor of marijuana is a probable cause for a search.
You can't search a vehicle with somebody in it.
Okay, then you're going to have to get the out of the car, dude. Then get out of the car. I'm asking you to get out of the car, sir.
He doesn't have a wheelchair, sir. He cannot. Please, sir, he doesn't. He cannot walk. He cannot walk. Please.
Okay, do not crawl out into...
You did this. Y'all told me to get out of the vehicle. I told y'all I did not have my wheelchair. I have no use of my legs.
Well, if you're going to crawl yourself over that way, sir.
There are situations during a traffic stop where police officers are allowed to order occupants.
Anyway, that was one. And then there's another one. And I'll just briefly show the beginning of this one. And I would strongly suggest people go watch this video. This guy's a paraplegic. And a woman accuses him of knocking down her door, kicking her door in.
Entered her home and attacked her.
This guy.
Is this a joke?
This paraplegic guy.
This woman called the cops.
Oh, thank God.
And accused the guy of kicking down her door and assaulting her.
So what happened?
He kicked in the door. I ran. He choked me out.
But there was a minor problem with...
Yeah, the guy's in a wheelchair. So they show up, and then there's one guy there who has some kind of common sense, like the lights are on marginally for this one guy, and it's like, you're saying this guy kicked down the door? This guy who can't walk? You know, his legs are like shriveled, you know, from atrophied from not being able to walk for years.
Doesn't happen again to somebody else. In June of 2024,
anyway,
a woman named...
I know we're winding down here, but I strongly suggest it's called Cops Arrest Paraplegic in Wheelchair for, quote, kicking down woman's door. That's a great one, too.
You just never know when you run through a crazy... I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who that happened to him. He met a chick. They started dating, and she just went nuts on him. He actually had to go to jail for three months. And then it got all dropped because she wouldn't show up because she's a tweaker. Oh, crazy. Anyways, I want to get into the Second Amendment. It seems like they're coming for our rights left and right. What are your suggestions when it comes to the Second Amendment and how to defend yourself? Like your rights?
What do you mean, like versus an intruder? Because I've always wondered about that, like how to handle an intruder. With
how do you establish your Second Amendment? What is the line in the sand you draw?
Yeah, I mean, I think as gun owners, we have a duty to ourselves to think about these things ahead of time. Yeah. And so going back to the scenario of you're inside your home, you know, your home is your castle. That's your safe space. That's where you're the most protected. That's where you have the most rights. A common thing that happens is innocent people being shot by the police due to a wrong address, the cops screwing up something.
You just published one 2 days ago, a wrong address entry, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's highly likely that you could just be asleep in your bedroom, and your house gets raided because of a mistake by law enforcement. Because maybe they used Apple navigation instead of Google, which happened in Kentucky, and a man died.
Oh my God.
Or because they were just so incompetent and lazy that they didn't even bother to look at the giant numbers on the mailbox and just went to the wrong house for no other reason. But it's a common thing that law enforcement does for some reason, is because they know that they're not going to be held responsible for raiding the wrong house or killing an innocent person in the wrong house. Like, they don't put much effort sometimes into going to the right house. So it's something we could all face, that the police show up, in our house or to our house because of a mistake or whatever. So you have cases of people being shot by the police in their house just from having a gun in their hand. Or there was the case in Florida where the Air Force guy just answered the door with a pistol in his hand, and it wasn't pointed at the officer. It was just pointed at the ground in a safe direction. He had every legal right to do that. But soon as the police officer saw the gun in the guy's hand, even though it wasn't pointed at him or anyone else, he just instantly shot him. And this happens a lot. There was a really sad case in Georgia. I think it was the cops. It was Powell versus Snook, and this guy Powell was just an innocent guy who was inside his house, and he heard a noise outside. It was sort of dark and quiet, and so he opens his garage door, and he's armed, and he sort of walks out into the darkness to investigate a potential prowler on his property. Well, the prowler was a cop hiding in the bushes with a long arm, and just shoots him.
Oh my God.
That cop's name was Snook, and the guy's name was Powell. He was killed. And there was a lawsuit
what the hell was he
filed.
doing there in the bushes?
I don't recall, but you can read. It's a sad case, and there are others like it. I mean, that has happened over and over again. Is either right address or wrong address. People come out of their house at night, investigating, what they perceive to be a non-law enforcement threat to their home, to their family, but in reality, cops are out there and they just get shot instantly because the cops are afraid of guns. And that's what happened in that case. And a lawsuit was filed by the widow, and in the 11th Circuit, the court basically awarded qualified immunity to the officer who shot and killed the homeowner, the innocent homeowner. And there was no warning in that case. The law basically is, if I'm recalling correctly, that law enforcement is supposed to give a warning before they shoot and kill you under those circumstances, if possible. So what does that mean? In the Snook case, in the Powell Snook case, there was no warning. The guy comes out investigating a prowler, and then just boom, from the darkness, he's shot and killed right in front of his wife. Terrible, sad case. No warning at all. And so the wife had claimed in her lawsuit, rightfully so, that he should have at least said, we're the police, drop the gun.
Of course.
And that did not occur. Just shot him first. And that's what the federal court said. The 11th Circuit said is, well, they only have to give a warning like where they can give a warning. So if this officer, through his training, perceived that there was an imminent threat and didn't believe there was time to give a warning, then he didn't have to give a warning. And therefore, no, we won't let you sue. We're going to give him qualified immunity. So there are a number of cases like that. So what I think is great, just general advice or a thing to do, is to think about these sorts of things ahead of time. And when I say a line in the sand, I think that's important as a responsible gun owner is, maybe don't go outside with a gun investigating a prowler. If you're inside, your family is locked inside your house. That's what's most important. Unless you have kids out in the yard somewhere, and they could potentially be in danger, why leave the safety and protections of your house where you might get shot by cops? So I think a good line in the sand is to not go outside with a gun for any reason. I mean, most states, I think Texas is the only possible exception under certain circumstances. Although you should be able to, in my opinion, you cannot use deadly force in defense of your property. So somebody's breaking in your car and you go outside with a gun and you confront them and you end up shooting them. If the justification for the shooting is that they were going to steal your car, that is a bad shoot. You're going to prison. Now, I don't agree with that. I think we should be able to defend our property under certain circumstances like that, but that's not the law. Now, it has to be in defense of somebody's life, either your own or somebody else. So generally a good line in the sand, I believe, is to just not go outside with a gun, putting yourself in a situation like that. Like none of your property is worth your life unless you have family members that are actual in potential danger. That's a good line in the sand. And there are other ones that, like I've personally thought of, for instance, if you carry concealed in public, or this could apply at your home also. I think it's a terrible scenario to have to explain yourself potentially, whether in court or through a lawyer or what have you, after having engaged in a self-defense shooting against somebody who's unarmed.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly that can be justified to shoot somebody in self-defense, even if somebody's unarmed under certain circumstances. Could be disparity of force, disparity in numbers. You could come up with a number of scenarios, but ideally, if I have any choice in the matter, like I know ahead of time because I've thought these things through. If I'm going out and I'm carrying a gun, like I don't want to be in that situation. If I have to shoot somebody, like I want it to be very clear that like the dead guy has got a gun or a knife, like still in his cold dead hands. That's just a much better scenario. Now, that doesn't mean I couldn't do it, but I just really don't want to go to prison. So if I have any choice in the matter, that's a line in the sand for me. Another one is like putting yourself in any other situations, road rage. When you're carrying a gun, you shouldn't engage in road rage anyways, but you really don't want to do it, when you're armed, flipping people off in traffic or honking at them or whatever. Like, nothing good is going to come out of that anyways, but some things really bad can come out of it when you're armed. So
it's what you said. Make yourself a good witness, right? It's totally make yourself.
Yeah, but and you just want to avoid. I think the responsibility of being armed is that you want to avoid unnecessary drama, and so I think there's lots of lines in the sand that I think need to be drawn if you're gonna stay out of unnecessary trouble. One is road rage. Another is like getting drunk and being armed.
Yeah.
There's lots of
that seems to be a big problem. Drugs and alcohol, people are just too whacked out.
Yeah,
that's a big no-no, though, right? A concealed weapon at a bar or something like that. I think that's like super.
It's just all these things. I can't tell you how many people in these videos are just whacked out on drugs and alcohol, and they just F themselves, especially like in airport arrests. Oh my God, they're all wasted. It's crazy.
John has this thing. He says freedom is scary at the end of every video, and it really is. It couldn't be more true, and that applies both to the cops and to the people they're interacting with. I think that's great. John,
last question. I just want to ask. Is there a fine line between this? We got this new guy in New York, Mondani. He wants to get rid of the cops. San Francisco is like 5 hours from us. It's becoming Mad Max. And you tell people, go, no, it's great. No, it's not, because you don't know what it was. And it's not that at all. It was a world-class city, and now it's like just disintegrate. I mean, Oakland's lost.
Nobody who's been to Oakland would say it's great. I mean, it's just a war zone.
Oakland was bad before. It's lost.
It's
now.
a war zone, dude.
Gone. So, do we have a fine line, sir, between like law, like understanding our rights and you know, defending our rights against dick cops, and understanding that unfortunately there needs to be some sort of buffer between law-abiding citizens and criminals who have nothing to lose?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a balance between freedom and safety. And my point is that our founding fathers opted for a government and a society that valued freedom more than it valued safety.
Yeah.
And when the government wants to restrict our freedom, how does it do it? I mean, they prey on people's fear, like the Patriot Act. Like so many. That's what they use to justify, spying on us, to justify growing the surveillance state, growing the government, growing, every aspect of our government. And I think people should just place more value on their freedom. And, it depends on the exact scenario, but I'd rather live in a society where I'm free to move out of Oakland or move out of New York and to move somewhere where I'm free. Yeah. Because in those places, what is the government also doing? They're restricting the law-abiding citizens from being able to defend themselves. Whereas in New York, they don't want you to be able to defend yourself. They want you to rely on the government to defend you. And, that's unacceptable. I'd rather live in a more dangerous place. It's like I use the example sometimes of Singapore. I don't think that's what Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and James Madison had in mind when they created our country. A society where you could be executed for smoking certain plants. Yeah. Or possessing anything. It wasn't even a thing to criminalize the possession of an object at the time our country was founded. The first law actually doing that, which George Washington wouldn't even understand this, was like post-Civil War. I think it was like 1870s when they wanted to discriminate against the Chinese in California because they had their opium dens. And that was like the first American drug law. So when our country was created, there were like 21 criminal laws. So it was like murder.
Wow.
It was just the basics. And now we live in a society where even though we're not safe at all. Like it has been, everything has gotten so much more dangerous, and it's not for want of laws. Yeah. We have like 10, 15,000 federal criminal laws. We have thousands and thousands of more state and local laws, and no lawyer in the country knows all those laws. Nobody knows all of those laws. So like they can get anybody at any time just because there are so many laws. And there are cops everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and so much more militarized than in the past. And it has not resulted in any additional safety at all. In fact, it's become less and less and less safe, despite the government doing all these things, which they claim they're doing in the name of safety.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yes, you're so right, dude. It is less safe than it's ever been, and we've had more laws than ever. You're totally right, man. Wow.
I mean, it's one of the reasons I like living in West Virginia, where, I can't necessarily depend on the police to come save me because I call 911. It might take 45 minutes for them to get here. But I am safe. because I have the freedom to possess like however many weapons I want. And people protect each other. And that, I think that's how our country always was. And relying on the government to do that is just not effective. Our country was designed to have an armed society that was capable of defending themselves, not only from just criminals and people who would rob and kill them, but also from potentially a tyrannical government. And so naturally, any government that wants to be tyrannical is going to try to restrict that or do away with it, which it is doing. So I think the best way to both be safe and be free is to increase freedom and allow people who want to be armed and protect themselves and protect each other. So yeah, I don't think you can support the Second Amendment and also support the rest of the Constitution. You can't support the Fourth Amendment without supporting the Second Amendment, which a lot of people try to do. And it just doesn't make any sense at all. It's just a political ideology. It's just a political reason to do so. I'm an absolutist for all of these rights, for the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment. I love them all.
Well, brother, I couldn't agree more. This has been an absolute banger of an episode. One more time, can you tell them where they can find you, John?
Yeah, you can find my YouTube channel, just The Civil Rights Lawyer on YouTube. That's at The Civil Rights Lawyer. You can also go to my website at thecivilrightslawyer.com.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor and a privilege. Open door anytime you want to. I hope it wasn't. Hope you had a good time. We learned a lot from it, and I hope people listen and understand their rights. And yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, great show. Enjoy this breakdown and highlights. All right, guys, what did you guys think of John Bryan, the civil rights lawyer?
I learned a thing or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's funny. So many of those things are like counterintuitive or maybe not common knowledge. Like, but he brings up such a good point about these cops are kind of, you know how they bring people in? I was thinking about like to train NBA players now to interact with the public and not to get screwed over by gold diggers and stuff.
Yeah.
Cops are getting training
just because
like
the ass is bouncing, lady, guys, don't nut.
Yeah, but really, that's what even what Charlie Robinson, right, is one of these guys that goes and helps kind of. Cops are getting trained to be witnesses like that all the time against you.
Stop resisting.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not, and they yell, I'm not resisting.
Yeah, and you gotta, because my impulse is what he said is to kind of be one of these like, what do they call them, sovereign citizens, or I'm like
but
trying to be a dick.
That gets into it. Like I've seen so many videos where they're like, I'm a sovereign citizen. They're like, F you.
Yeah, no, totally, and so he's right though. You gotta think about how when you're interacting with the police. For every moment, you have to think about how this is going to look later to a jury in case you end up there, God forbid. And because that's the game the cops are playing. You got to play that game too.
They got me. I thought every time they said stop resisting arrest, I thought the guy was resisting arrest. I was like, dude, sit your ass down.
Really?
Stop resisting. No, I'm kidding.
You know what's very interesting is when something's everywhere all at once and just these body cam videos seem to be coming out a lot. Everywhere.
Oh, we didn't have them before, but yeah.
But it's everywhere, and is it a play to kind of make people sympathetic to cops?
Could be.
My cousin's cop, my grandfather's cop.
Yeah, my brother-in-law.
The question is like, if you live in a small city, you're probably safer with no cops. But if you live in like a big city and you have no cops, it's fucking chaos, dude.
Yeah, the problem is that the more cops there are, the more likely there are to be bad cops on the force. Yeah, and those are the ones. Those all of what we're talking about is bad cops. Those are because there are plenty of good cops that actually give a shit about your freedom and they feel like they're there to protect your freedoms, and those are the good ones. But some of them are PTSD, whacked out in the skull, coming back from Iraq, wanting to get a little juice, or they couldn't get accepted into the military for whatever reason, and they're getting revenge for high school. So many people are just living their lives like revenge for high school.
Yeah, it's very crazy, dude. Yeah, it's crazy, guys. If you go to samtripoli.com, you can check out my We'll get right back to the discussion. Check out my go to Sam Tripoli events. You'll see all the dates coming up.
Bye, Chad.
This weekend, I'm in New Orleans at Skankfest. The following week, I am in Vegas.
Let's go,
all
Vegas.
The shows at midnight.
What? Oh, they're all night.
All
they're
night?
all night.
Oh,
There's
this
a
says
whole
midnight.
day and all night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I just put it in there. Go down. Gonna be at Minneapolis. Then I'm going to be in Morris Plains for New Year's. And then, if everything goes according to plan, World War debate will be live in Atlantic City at Caesar's Palace, the ACX1 studio. So let's
I'm
hope.
so excited for that, dude. It
I
looks
am
so
too.
Great.
Let's hope we can go big game hunting. It's looking pretty good, but
Suiting up?
We'll
You look
see.
good in a suit. You suiting
Well,
up?
All
I'm
the
going
comments
to.
are like, look at Sam in a suit.
I know. So I was like, look
I'm
at him.
probably going. People always say you clean up really good. I just like last night I went up in my fucking Trailblazers.
I never know if that's a compliment. Like I was going
No,
through
that
TSA.
means I look sloppy
That's
and
what I
I
was
can
thinking.
look decent.
I was going through TSA the other day, and the lady looked at my passport photo, which is not that long ago, and she's like, "Oh, somebody had a glow up." And I'm like,
Oh, what a
Oh,
fucking
look
bitch.
at you, buddy.
"Oh yeah, but is that a
It's a
compliment,
diss.
or are you
Yeah.
saying
I
I
like
like
glowing
shit?"
up, dude. You love glowing up. Yeah, and then what? So go check it out. Hopefully, you guys can be there. If you go to samtribute.com, tons of premium content there. If I get Super Slam, it's the only time I don't put out a ton of it, but it's all good. We got whatever this is, the Kurt and Sam experiment, which we were looking at how much to buy only farts. It's going to cost me about $2,500.
Only farts.
Yeah.
You guys are killing over there. Chat BET,
that
only
was great.
farts. That shit
Everyone
was
loves
so
Chat
funny.
BET
Yeah,
except
that
for
was
black
great.
people. They did not enjoy Chat BET.
Black people didn't like it,
No, they didn't enjoy it at all.
Hey, got
dude.
it.
And now, is that just a one-off, like you on AI, or is that every week you on AI?
No, it might come up. The next one we did, we just.
But that's not part of the
that's
show.
not true. Dude, Kurt Metzger's huge into AI right now, and he's just making all these amazing songs. And he tried to make a theme song for his new show with Duncan Drussel. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, remember we played those in the very early days of that on Broken Sam, where we would try to get like George Bush. He called you Sandwich Tripoli. Remember that?
It's advanced.
No.
Johnny,
way better.
tell us about Cash Daddies.
Cash Daddies is where
Patreon, go
a guy who just had surgery gives you excellent suggestions on how to invest your money.
Yeah, some happened that they put something and he got hit by a bolt of lightning and now he's just crushing it. I'm making a joke.
Oh! I thought you were saying something happened with his surgery.
No, he's really good at calling. And trust me.
Yeah, that's why he's got that white streak in his hair because he gets struck by lightning as a kid.
Yeah. So he's killing it, and
He's like
you're like
powder.
$20. That's a lot, but it's not when you look at the possibilities of what you can make if you just pay attention.
Yeah, and there's so much just educational value too. There's a community there of people who all talk to each other
Do you
and share
know who
ideas.
I got to get on Cash Daddies? Orny Adams.
Is he good with money?
Oh, he says he does high volume
Oh yeah, let's talk
of
to him.
trading.
I could totally see that, dude. Yeah, he's got the right energy.
He's like, I do high volume.
Yeah, we should have. He would be great. He was great on Broken Sam.
Yeah,
dude.
we'll have him on. I'd love to do it.
I
dude.
really like him.
I do too. He told a hilarious story about how he got kicked off of Comics Unleashed.
Really?
Yeah, like Tom Green was on the earlier episode. This leads into the famous Norm Macdonald.
Is this old school Comics Unleashed? Or
Yeah, way
okay.
back in the day. Leads into the Comics Norm Macdonald episode where like him and Byron didn't get along. It's a really
Interesting.
crazy story. We'll have him tell it. Go to Cash Daddy's Patreon and check it out. Go down. I think Cast Twins is almost done. I gotta hit those guys.
You keep
up.
saying that. Yeah,
I
let's
know,
get
but-
that thing. I want it.
Okay, I'll get it done.
I need it in my
And then
hands.
go back, Cast Twins, just click that. Guys, go to T-shirts, dude. T-shirts. If you guys have ideas for T-shirts, tell me, dude. New T-shirts coming out all the time. PSYOP season. Disobey. That's my favorite shirt. They're all there, dude. Great one. A new secret shirt will be coming out very soon on the road. You'll be seeing that very soon.
Any hints?
Yes. It's about my my closing bit and my
Oh boy. Okay.
Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, our good friends there. Go to Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, and you could get in on the Press Smells games. And then the Mineral King, Pat Miltich, his thing, dude, if you got parasites, you want to clean up your soil, all that stuff, he's the best for that. Just click the banner. And obviously, my good friends at Chemical Free Body, I took it during the last show. Bang, I take it every day. Keeps me feeling good. Love doing it. And anything from EMF Rocks, are we on or off?
We're on. I don't know if you guys noticed. I only say on or off depending on the episode. Where I'm off. If I have some stupid episodes, I'm off.
It's not EMF Rocks.
It's Brain Supreme.
It's Brain Supreme.
Yeah, are you off?
He's off.
I am not off. I'm off. I'm always off. Anything else, guys? What?
Hit that like button and go check out my podcast. Actually, Marks the Spot. Really funny show.
Number one educational
No, Candace took over, dude. I gave it to Candace.
Number two.
It's okay.
And
guys.
you are Johnny.
Yeah, I am Johnny. Broken Sim, check it out. It's a good one. We talk about Leslie Jones. She's got a hard on for Tony Hinchcliffe. And we break down her video looking like Oprah yelling at Tony.
Does she got a big one? Is it?
I mean, I would assume.
Oh, it's out. There it is. It's out.
Right.
Bang.
JB Pipe Bomb 2. You guys go deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we talking to Patrick Bet David, who I like, saying the dumbest shit ever.
I think he's an idiot. I don't know why you like him.
I like him
because he says the dumbest shit.
That was the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
And it's not like a first for him.
Why don't we humanize Hitler? Yeah. Well, this will
people didn't like Tom Brady, and we put him on stage, and we just roasted him. Why
then
can't we
gonna have
that?
Andy Hunt on, who's on the next episode, come on and be like, mysteriously, like 8 out of the 9 comedians died within a year and a half of doing that roast.
Yeah, totally.
You think Netanyahu's gonna be cool with you calling him a baby killer?
I put his name on the list. Put his name on the list.
Stupid. So Johnny, the question comes down to when you get pulled by the cops, how should you play it?
Yeah, I think be polite, right? Be polite. If he asks you to step out of the car, step out of the car. If you're smoking pot, be extra sweet and nice to the cops. And then it sounds like the other thing he said that I thought was really interesting is that as a gun owner, it's our responsibility to kind of game out these scenarios in our head so we're mentally prepared. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about that. Like, why the would you leave your house if you hear a noise? If all your family's inside, everybody's safe, locked. Why the going outside to investigate armed? Yeah, get some cameras. They're cheap now. Cameras are dirt cheap because the Chinese are subsidizing them so they can spy on you.
Yeah, I have my entire property used.
Don't go poking around getting shot by cops.
Poking around.
No, what's crazy? What I learned is I actually thought you were safer in your car than like being a pedestrian.
Yeah, it's not true.
I couldn't believe that when he said, "Dude, you have no rights in your car."
I guess.
I thought it was king of my castle. King of my castle is my car. This is my truck. This is my house. Nope, not today.
So if you're gonna bang a hooker, walk with her.
We should ask what. We should ask what happens if you're living in your car. Is that?
That's interesting, Johnny.
So many people in LA are.
Question you didn't ask. That was a great question you didn't ask.
Yeah.
So it was a great episode. Check out his links. We appreciate him coming on.
Yeah, John Bryan, the civil rights lawyer, huge YouTube channel.
Johnny had the biggest lady boner during that whole thing. He was just living his dream.
I had a regular boner, my friend.
Okay, all right. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
So Patrick Bet David, who I have been out on from the very beginning. He always had a sleazy salesman energy to me. It's somebody who would say anything and do anything to get ahead. You were kind of a fan of his, and now I would say maybe not. Not a fan of his?
I love Patrick Bet David. His Israel takes has been really hurting his brand.
Yeah, I wonder how much money they paid him.
But this is probably
the
dumbest thing ever said in the history of time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb.
And he's got like Sam Tripoli energy. He's got the phone like right up to his face, just going hard.
Yeah, here we go.
He's like, I got a big idea. Can't wait. I gotta do it on my phone.
I gotta tell you guys this. I got a brilliant idea. It's going to bring peace to the world. Here we go.
Got to get it out right now.
So I have a crazy idea for Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel as well as the world. If you like it, tag the world, share with everybody. If not, let's move on.
Just
think the
move
world
on.
needs a
Don't come at me. That's the funniest part of this whole thing. If you like it, share it. If you don't like it, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't even remember that. That is so. But that suit's fire, though. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, we can.
That's a fire suit.
Please don't kill me for defending a mass murderer.
That's the funniest part of this whole thing. I got a great idea. If you love it, share it. If you don't like it, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
There we go.
Benjamin Netanyahu. If you like it, tag the world, share it with everybody. If not, just move on. I think the world needs a comedic roast of Benjamin Netanyahu, sitting right in the middle with the greatest comedians in the world, from America, from the Middle East, from Egypt, from everywhere, just making fun of Benjamin Netanyahu.
From that Hamas. Let's get some Hamas comedians to come make fun of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Because I have so much
just
to
like
say.
they did with Trump many years ago, just like they did with Tom Brady. And Tom doesn't like
God, it's so funny.
this. Neither does Trump, but they took it. And what happened? All the people that hated Brady, they moved on. All the people that hated Trump were like,
Did Brady kill anybody?
Let me go to the next person now. I think
did Brady? How many people did Brady kill? Idiots.
What's going on there? What's happened there? It's terrible. It's not slowing down. People are going back and forth.
Oh, that makes me
Why
angry.
not create a setting for people to say everything they want to get it off their chest?
You really
so nobody sits there and says, well, I feel like there's nothing I can say about Israel because if I do, I'm going to get canceled. Here's your opportunity.
No.
Come and say whatever you want to say. Number two,
you run this by
here's
anybody?
Israel's opportunity to say,
did Benjamin Netanyahu kill a member of your family?
We
Come
also
on
have
here
issues.
and tell some jokes.
Make fun of us. Let's move on. Trust me. There's a lot of people that are going to hate this idea. Absolutely hate
99% of the world.
But I think
there's maybe 2% that might like it.
People related to Benjamin Netanyahu will think this is great.
Even gotta be like, this is the dumbest idea ever. Like, this is like
that I don't know about.
There are a lot. Like they say now, it's up to like 67% of Americans think Netanyahu is gone too far. What he's trying to talk about is humanizing Netanyahu. Why would we want to humanize Netanyahu? Why would we?
You know what I think? I think we should if you don't like it, just move on. If you do like it, tag everybody you know. I think we should just get Adolf Hitler on a stage
100%.
and just tell a lot of jokes. Everybody, Polish people from Czechoslovakia, maybe Winston Churchill could even maybe write some jokes for Winston Churchill, and then we just tell a few jokes about Adolf Hitler, you know? I mean, it worked for Tom Brady.
Tone deaf. It's tone deaf because what he's saying is just Netanyahu is like kind of misunderstood. And maybe this would humanize him.
It is, yeah.
And it's like, he's not misunderstood. He's understood perfectly. He is a scumbag, okay? He is a war criminal scumbag, okay? And the reason...
what is he thinking?
The reason, like, something like Putin isn't look like this or Zelensky isn't look like this because they're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Everyone knows this is a one-sided battle because Netanyahu is funding the other side.
It's that old
and not
Hicks
only
joke.
that he's paying for ISIS to masquerade as Gaza to cause more chaos. This guy doesn't need a roast. This guy needs to be put on a fucking chopping block and have his head cut off. That's what he needs. Like, this is so tone deaf. And I tend to like some of the stuff that Patrick Bet-David's doing. This is obviously it's like he's like it's real hard for me not to think he's getting paid off.
He is. Yeah.
It's real hard. Like Vinny is just there to give the show some credibility. They allow him to tee off
because he's gotten worse and worse on this issue as it's gotten worse for Israel.
Adam is absolutely a retard on the show. He sounds so stupid.
I don't watch it. Except,
I watch clips because Vinny is my friend and I really used to love the show. Dude? I like Vinny. Vinny's been my friend for a long time. We've had weird moments, but overall, I like Vinny.
It's that Hicks joke, about Iraq war. He's like, a war is when there are two armies fighting.
Agreed. Yeah. This is a genocide. Everybody knows it. They only want peace treaties so they can rearm, resupply their soldiers. Just do it over. And then,
if you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/Sam Tripoli.
We got a crazy, disgusting episode here for you guys right off the bat. We talk about this strip club owner that smells every stripper's pussy before they get on stage. Then right off the bat, I got this doctor right here cutting all the extra lips off these pussies. Ugh. And then, as usual, we go straight into fat shaming and a bunch of little slutty activity that ran into my feed, a bunch of doom scrolling. So don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Welcome back to the #1 podcast in the world. It's your boy XG Marks the Spot. And like always, I got the #1 producer / graphic designer, Chili Millie. Burm, 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 burm. Did we forget?
Wait, that wasn't right.
We don't know, guys. We don't know what the...
I need to learn these.
Man, we take 1 week off, guys, and you guys make me lose the spot. We took 1 week off, guys, and you guys make me lose that #1 spot in the world. We gave it up to Candace, which I am not mad about. That's my girl. She took it. She took it, and that's how I know America is not racist. It went from Mexican to black. All we need is Jared Nathan to take to take it over, dog. Jared Nathan's going to be #1 podcast in the world right after Candace, because America. America, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please, because today is obviously a day of celebration. Yes, in case you missed it, we officially have become the #1 podcast in the world, and the haters stay mad. It's here. You are here. We are all #1 in the world. It's been trending on Twitter. It's been so exciting. Look at this. Candace Owens' podcast hits #1 worldwide. Best part, without promotion, which means we have not spent, since we started this podcast a year and a half ago, a single dollar on advertising. Okay. Because we couldn't do it. We were a startup. I was fired. Things were down. It was real bad. And yet we are
It's crazy.
Yeah, dude, no shout to her. Imagine being Ben Shapiro and watching her take #1 spot. And what's crazy, I mean, we all know why she took #1 spot. I mean, there's a couple reasons. I mean, it started off with the Bridget McCrone series.
Yeah.
That started off.
You know what I think started it was what's the actors? Remember the drama Ryan Reynolds and
Oh yeah, she was
that started
deep in
she
that
got everybody.
shit. She almost got sued. She almost became part of the fucking trial.
That whole
No,
thing.
but yeah.
And
She started
then
the ball
Bridget.
rolling with that. Then she went with Bridget McCrone. And then obviously her homie Charlie Kirk died. And she won't not let that shit die. Which I mean, I wouldn't either.
No.
But she's, I mean, #1.
She's going crazy.
I gotta give it up to her.
I love it.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah.
I mean, but guys, for real though, guys, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's take us back to #1, dog.
Take us back to #1. We don't take weeks. She doesn't take weeks off.
I know. She's daily 2:00, dude. The other day, I think it was like 1:30, and I was killing some time right before the second episode of Tinfoil Hat, and I'm there like in the waiting room for Candace's show. This bitch had 13,000 people waiting for the show to start. The show started, and like mid show, she's got 80K behind her.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I can't. That's all I've been watching all week.
Yeah.
Like her, Dave
yeah.
Smith.
No, yeah, and guess what, guys? After 2 weeks off, taking a week off, I got a bunch of fucking doom scrolling. I did.
1 week.
I went deep. So deep. Chitty's got this shit in categories. She's got cheating category, fat category, tweaker category. So I mean, I might just let her pick whichever one she wants because the list is long. List is long. We got some actually too, by the way. Shout out to everybody at Skankfest. Shout out to Sam Tripoli. Shout out to Legion of Skanks. Y'all was out there in New Orleans. I wish I could be out there right now, but y'all know the situation.
We do have a vlog from last year, by the way.
Give us $1, faggot.
Play. I mean, it's a classic because I gotta give it up to Winnie, and I gotta give it up to the little dick dude.
I thought you were gonna say little Dicky.
Contest. See here right now. Dude, come up here, dude. Can I feel it?
So gay. He's so gay sometimes.
Whitney, feel it. Whitney. You gotta give it a Whitney. It's crazy. Try to find it.
Can I tell you something?
Trying to find it is crazy.
I'll challenge. It's impossible for you to touch his. That's all right. You gotta do a little digging.
This guy got a handshake from Whitney Cummins.
I am a little insulted it's not growing at all.
Should grow.
No, Whitney. It is.
Whitney.
I mean,
you wouldn't do it?
He got free tickets. I mean, I wouldn't care, but what would you do if that was like you?
What if I was the little dick dude?
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, you've lived with the little dick your whole life. You might as well okay. You know how when it's really big, you show it off?
Yeah.
When it's really little,
yeah,
you also show it off. At that point, you're like,
so.
At that point, you're like, míralo, look at it, look at it. Let's fucking get on
little,
stage
you
and
think
get
you'd be in
it.
shape.
Well, we got a hand job for Winnie Cummings. I don't know. Do you have to come to consider it a hand job? I don't think so.
No, what the hell? What if you can't? It's so little. I bet you probably has problems with it. Cause you
don't have to get too personal. How small do you really think it is? Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a small one. Like,
yeah.
Like how small? Like,
dude,
dude, for her not to find it, for her not to find this fucking thing is wild. I feel bad for the guy too. At the end of the fucking day,
that's what I mean.
That sucks. Cause I mean, what?
Yeah.
Just got what? You're just gonna.
There's this. It sucks because he's so big. Like, there's a guy that was like a bouncer, and he had a really small one. And like you can't find it.
Like a bouncer? Like what type of bouncer?
Like he was like a big guy.
Oh.
He doesn't tell. Usually you get warned. You know, if I have a small dick, blah blah blah, and like they'll tell you, and then you don't have to do anything. He didn't, because I know like I hooked up with him when I was like 19 or 19, 21. And then another girl did too, and we were both like, what the fuck?
So he didn't tell you guys?
He didn't tell us.
Okay, so I had a girl that was my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
She told me, because I you know how
micro?
I'm like I was making fun of micro penis. She's like,
yeah.
I had to deal with one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, you're there. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna insult him if you all of a sudden don't want him. Like, so I was like, dude, it felt like nothing. Like I just kind of was like, it is what it is. And I was like, fuck that. If I like ran into like okay.
Uh-oh.
You know that dirty ass pussy that I said? No, not the dirty ass pussy, but the video of the pussy that gets caught up because where you said like, oh my god, I can't watch it even though it's a sandwich.
The surgery, yeah.
Okay. A girl has never told me like, yo, I gotta.
No, that's what I mean.
But as a guy, do you have to?
As a guy, I think you should. So my ex has a small one, and he said like he told girls, and like they would say yes or no. They would be like, oh no, like they would say no to him.
I wouldn't tell no one.
Bro.
Oh well.
But if you have a small one,
like I'm like with the other guy.
Huh? Have like a good personality. You know what I mean? Because girls really don't care. Obviously, like we don't care. Don't care to an extent.
I was about to say there's a difference between micro and small.
You have to be hot and you have to have like a good personality.
Yeah.
You can't be a piece of shit.
Yeah, and there's a difference between micro and small. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy has a micro.
That guy has a micro.
Yeah, that's micro, and that's obviously I'm gonna feel bad. I'm gonna feel bad for anybody that isn't like at least average. Like
literally,
that sucks.
like you have nothing.
Oh shit. American people, you guys see fucking very patriotic over here. I'm always for the American people.
Talk about small dick.
The American people.
Is that Obama?
No, that
sounded like Obama.
It wasn't. It's some guy, Horkham Jeffries. It was literally just some random thing.
He has
that
a
was
small
playing.
dick. He's like, all right.
No,
stop.
but so I watched this video and like, I don't think women or girls should have to do this.
This was hard to watch.
Okay, but let me give you.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, but let me give you something of what I mean.
Oh wait. Can I just have one question though? Do strippers do this or hooker? I mean, not. Oh my god, porn stars.
So I was about to say, honestly, I don't think any female should care, or I mean, at least your husband. I mean, if you're a girl and you don't like the way your pussy looks, that's on you, and that's on you. But I don't think you should do it for any man Because at the end of the day, even if she's got not the best looking pussy, why do you care, dog? It's only for you.
Yeah.
Unless she's gonna be a porn star. Dog. How is anyone even gonna roast her? I mean, she got roast pussy, like, maybe. But like, I watched this, and like you said, unless you're a porn star, OnlyFans, or very, very self-conscious, I don't think you should do this. I would never tell my wife, like, yo, you got a little too much like lip action. Like, get that shit fixed.
I think they do it if they have babies.
What do you mean?
Like,
Babies can ruin it?
I think so. I don't know. I'm gonna take myself off. I don't know. I'm pretty sure.
No, but watch this, because even you were like, I can't even.
It's hard to watch.
I have a patient who would like to have a labiaplasty, and I just kind of want to walk you through the steps of what we do. The first thing I want you to know is we don't use scissors. We don't use scalpel. We use a wonderful radio frequency device called Sonoquence. And when you see this in action, you'll understand why. So let me show you what we do. The first step is to mark it out. And this patient requested a natural look. She wanted to look, not Barbie, but she wanted to look where her labia remain within the confines of the bun. Now, nobody is perfect, so we always start off with dots and then connect the dots. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. She wants to be within the confines of the bun. As I said, we use radio frequency. Now watch this. This cuts through tissue like a hot knife cuts through butter. So there's extreme precision that I have. It also allows me to use it in areas that are very sensitive, like in and around the clitoris. And so that small cut, look at that. The perfection. Look at that.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack.